You're going to have to leave it here and listen to a whisper.
I don't know what.
I got 7 questions from the minutes.
I'll answer finally.
Just means the chair has to answer all the questions.
Good luck with that one. That's the way I'll deal with them too. All right, 6:30. So we'll call the meeting the Monday, May the 2nd meeting of the Committee of the Whole Community Development. First, I guess second item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. If I can have a mover and a seconder for the approval of the agenda. Moved by Chris Ward, seconded by Councillor Hugh Cameron. No changes. All in favor?
Aye.
Good, unanimous. Number 3 would be disclosure of pecuniary interests or the general nature thereof. Does anyone have any interest to declare today? Hearing or seeing none, we'll move on to number 4, which is business arising from the previous minutes. Does anyone have any questions regarding the previous minutes? Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. So I have a few questions. Apologize because I know that the community development coordinator is not much of a voice this evening, but just looking for an update. First of all, on page 3 of 84, which is actually page 3 of the minutes as well, we were talking about the income control bylaw and a planning study for the area. There's roughly 66 acres at the north end, I believe, of Frederick Street. And just towards on page 3 of 84, third paragraph from the top, committee requested Mr. Pence provide the estimated cost and time to complete a conceptual plan study of the area. I think that's the area we were talking about. So I guess my question, probably through the chair to the CAO, really, did we get a conceptual or an estimated cost of a conceptual plan there? Just wondered if they had time to do that.
So through the
I was looking back over towards
that's okay. That's okay. So through the chair, we are still waiting on that cost estimate. We anticipate that shortly.
Okay, thanks very much. And just another question. Again, I apologize, but through the chair, when we were talking on page, this is page 4 of the minutes actually, but the issue first appears on page 3 of the minutes when we're talking about the severance at James Street and New Street. And the committee had a recommendation in front of them there in favor of that severance application at James and New. And we had requested a few conditions be included in the severance. And the third condition was that the applicant obtain relief from the provisions of the zoning bylaw to the satisfaction of the township as necessary to provide zoning conformity for the newly severed retained lot and existing dwellings. And if I recall correctly, we invited the applicant to sort of start that process while they were waiting for the county severance land division committee to do their thing. I'm just wondering if either the CAO or the community development coordinator can tell us whether or not the applicant has made any efforts in that direction with either one of those 3 conditions.
They haven't submitted the application yet. I know that they're working on it. They've asked a few questions about the minor variance application.
Okay, so they're working on it.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted a little update on those 2 things. Thank you.
Satisfied? Good.
Yeah.
Any further questions? Are you good? All right, so that's it for business arising. And it comes time to delegations and presentations. So looking forward to 5A, which is the odd spot, Amy Boyce and Marky Cote. Welcome. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
We're Marky and Amy. And we purchased the property at 6 Spencer Street. And we look forward, so we're making it a home right now. So and we want to maintain it. So we're putting a lot of renovation dollars into getting the house up to speed and to making it last another couple 100 years at least. So we're doing some work in the foundation, we're making some work on the stone exterior and so on as well. So the odd spot is we're changing to the property to have on the main floor to have a cafe, a small cafe and a shop. So where the living room is right now, so half the space will be a shop where the store will have some entertainment products. So it's really like a party store, but high quality products. So if you have an event, a dinner party, a wedding even, so some of those type of little products will be in the store. And board games, so a lot of board games, so a lot of entertainment. So we're also going to be renting and selling giant games and yard games as well, so for weddings and things like that as well. And the other side of the kitchen, we're renovating the kitchen as a cafe, full service cafe with specialty coffee and food and baked goods. And we're going to also have a menu of shareable foods where patrons can come in and buy some food, sit down, and also enjoy about 300 board games that we have available for them to play with. So they can enjoy their time there. And you can also purchase the board game if they're happy with the game. So we have also a patio, so on the side, so between the village pantry and the property, we're planning to set up a patio where for the spring, summer, and fall, we'll be able to host some patrons there as well for coffee and so on, and some limited board games and so on as well. So the ones that are able to sustain the outside will be there as well. So we have, we're looking at getting a liquor license as well, so that we have some specialty coffee, some craft beer, and some craft wine as well. So most of the work that is being done to the building is all sourced local contractors. We're really looking at working with local contractors here to Kempville to Brockville, so all these areas. So we have a lot of contractors lined up to start the work. We haven't started yet. We did a bit of work on electrical and plumbing, but now we're going into the major work that's going to come up as well. Yeah. Is it 5 minutes?
Oh, you got lots of time.
So yeah, we come from. So who are we? And we come from. We did have a small store in Westboro, board game lounge as well. So we have a bit of experience. So for about a dozen years now, kind of revived and trying to get board games more into the family and more into the lifestyle of people face to face, outside of getting away from the the mobile phone and so on, to try to get people back to being social together and so on. So that's our mandate.
And also events. We used to run a gaming event. It's called Game Summit. We had
about 2,000 people last. Yeah.
We ran an event called Twin Game Expo. So it's always been about bringing activities, families together, getting people out of the house and enjoying time together. So going out, having something to eat, but also providing some sort of entertainment. So on the tables, there'll be board games available. We also want to have little items on the table, like little mind puzzles, things like that, things that create conversation and just get people interacting while they're out.
We come from Barhaven, and our goal was to really start looking at small towns to establish this type of business and also have it as our home as well. So we kind of for sustainability of the business. And we fell in love with Spencerville. We saw the building. We saw the building for sale, I think almost a year before, and we're worried, maybe it's a bit too far. But of course, because of the pandemic, my day job, I'm a director of digital technologies at the War Museum and the History Museum, and now I can work remotely, so it gives me a bit of opportunity to assist a little bit in the business as well. So yeah, that's it.
Good, thank you for the presentation. I think what we'll do is we'll just go around the table and open it up for questions. Chris, I'm gonna start.
You always,
I always start on the left.
I know, I actually looked at this and it just looked really, really interesting, and I like what you're doing with the place. And you know, one of my first questions I usually go to is what's the ask, but then I saw later on in the presentation what sort of part of the ask is, so that answered that question. But no, I guess welcome to the township first of all, and you know, my wife and I come from Ottawa a dozen years ago as well ourselves, and fell in love with the place exactly. So like I said, you know, I like the idea, and welcome. That's what I'm gonna say. Thank you.
Councilor?
Yes, thank you. Jeepers, what I see here is unbelievable what it's going to look like after. I'm all excited about it. I'm not a board game person, but
We can.
and that's what I'm asking, like teaching
Yes,
these
that's
board games. Like
that's
you said,
actually-
you sold, one of my questions were,
Yeah.
would you be selling board games? You said yes. Would you be teaching now if I came in and
that was actually the original mandate of Game Summit when we did it, was that board games can be intimidating. There's thousands and thousands and people don't know where it starts. So that was one of the reasons why we started that event, was to provide games that people can try before making that leap to purchase.
right?
So when we had our events, we always had people there to help. So we will, maybe not every evening, every time, all hours that we're open, have someone available, but as much as possible, we'll
Right.
have someone available just to kind of go around and help people choose a game, help them learn how to play it, help them pick one to buy as a gift or for themselves.
Because it took me a while. I had to invest in snakes and ladders, so that's why I asked these questions.
Yeah.
No, that's great. I think now, would you be having like a membership or something? We're sort of, you know, like I've been just reading up on it. I couldn't believe how big it is, first of all, for like over in Belgium, France, and
Yeah.
even Canada.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
quite.
Yeah, there's a popular one near University of Ottawa. It's called Loft, and it's busy all the time.
Is that right? And where's that?
It's
In
right
downtown.
downtown, yeah, just near University of Ottawa. Yeah. It's so yeah, the idea is that we would have simple ways to try to show, you know, to get somebody to come in and say, well, what, you know, what can you, what type of, where do you start? So we have a bit of a starter games to kind of show them a little bit of that. We also have iPads that we'll pass around with little video tutorials on some things. So if we're not fully, if we're really busy, we'll have those iPads kind of pass around, so they can actually kind of
Oh,
learn
great.
themselves. So yeah.
Good luck. I think it's, I'm excited. And I love the dessert that you have there.
We're still testing a menu. We're still playing around.
Well, if you want somebody to test. Thank you. No, good luck. Thank you.
Councilor Cameron.
Yes, thank you. Councilor Dillabaugh will be more than happy to test your desserts. I will be more than happy to test your craft beer and wine.
Okay.
For sure. It's looking terrific. I applaud you for trying this and going ahead. I wish you all the success that there is. And your information is coming up tonight. There's more regarding your application coming up later. So I will have a couple more questions at that time. So hopefully you'll be here for that. But gosh, oh, and by the way, your mind puzzles.
Yes.
I can certainly help you out with that if it ever arises. So anyway, you are familiar with the little board games that are on the tables at every Cracker Barrel restaurant in the United States.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Good. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. All the best.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So I will just echo my words of congratulations and welcome to the township. And thank you very much for reminding me that we did meet before at the SBCC meeting. Your faces look very familiar, and I'm thinking to myself, I know these people, but I don't know why. So welcome and congratulations. And I do have a couple of questions. Well, first of all, I just wanted to point out a misconception. There really is only just one board game. It's called Monopoly, and nobody wants to play it with me because I beat them hands down all the time. So I don't know When you get a competition going, tell me when you get to the top level.
How can you say that?
So I do have a question. Though, do you have a sort of a projected opening date?
So hopefully, with everything for all the contract, like a lot of renovations, so it's September. September is when we'd like to open. So,
All right, so September opening.
yeah.
And now my final question, because it's I cannot. I was in business for 25 years. How do you make money at this? What is the revenue stream? You can't get rich on a $2 coffee.
No, I mean, board games, we used to also run an online board game store. So the sale of the board games alone has been successful for us in the past.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, and also the renting of games. So we want to expand that as well, renting giant games, but also renting board games, just like a library. That's one reason why it's also our home, is so that we don't have that burden of a lease that is not our home. So that makes it a little bit more feasible for us.
No, this is the second time I've heard the word giant board games. What is it?
Yeah, like giant chess. So the pieces are about this big, giant Connect Four, giant snakes and ladders.
Oh, that's
right.
Yeah. So we used to rent those for schools, weddings, parties.
We used to be at the Cheerleaders Festival. We used to run their games pavilion. So we had about a dozen big giant games and things like that. So we do events and things as well. But there is a fee for sitting down and playing as well. So there's different models that different businesses are doing in Europe and so on. So usually it's like a $5 fee additional to your food and drink. So you sit down, you pay well, what we're going to be doing is per table, but most of the businesses are like $5 per person. So what we're going to do, because it's a small town, trying to figure out how it works, we're going to charge by table. So $5 on your bill for the table. So you sit down, you can stay for an hour or 2 hours, play some games, eat, drink, and then the $5 is profit for us, right? So it's part of that.
No,
so
it's not profit, it's margin.
It's margins, that's right. You're right. Yeah. But there is a number of different ways. We also, we resell our own coffee. So we have a part of my family, they have near Nicaragua, they have farms, bean farms. So we get them green, roast it, and then we bag our own coffee as well. So there's a few different business within revenue opportunities. And because of my background, I used to have a digital agency doing websites and stuff as well. So our web presence online, like our website, it's a full online store. So we not only get revenue from local, we also get sales like Canada-wide.
I see. Okay, fair enough. Thanks very much, Mr. Chair.
That wasn't cutting off the 10 minutes, but.
No,
I was just cutting the hair off.
My apologies, I forgot to record. My apologies for that. Councillor Hunter.
I don't have really too many questions. I wish you all the best. I think it's probably in a small town, it's going to be a tough market to get started. With the board games, do you do much of the online game type thing, Dungeons and Dragons and one thing or another that are played online? Are you involved in marketing that or running those types of games too? Or?
Yeah, we're trying to, part of the mission is to bring back the table. So we don't want to provide any type of online gaming. But just on your comment about a small town and trying to figure out if there's a good interest for it, we were surprised when Abby shared on the Facebook group. We rose our Facebook like from locals to 450 people in not even a week. So there was a lot of feedback and a lot of people that we saw in the area that play board games to the level that we do as well. So we were quite surprised and pleasantly surprised, of course.
With your desserts and stuff, that's all going to be in-house baking?
For the most part, yes, but we are going to possibly look at people bringing in some specialty items. So we haven't sorted that all out, but we'll have our limitations, so we might have some help.
So when you get, I looked at your drawings and I couldn't really figure out what's going to be your capacity for serving. How many things you're going to sell by the table? How many tables are you going to be allowed to have?
So we're going to max out at 40, and we have enough for 40 seats. 40 seats, not tables. Sorry, 40 seats is our maximum. We have a lounge area in the back, the addition of the building. There's an addition, so we're making that a lounge with like a couple sofas and a coffee table, more of like a rec room kind of style feel. But we'll have enough seating for about 40 is what we're going to be maxing that. And then plus the patio. Yeah, so patio and another 20.
That's the area we were maybe for the license for the patio.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
It's nice to see new businesses starting up. Unfortunately, I'm sure you're aware of the success rate of new business that started. So
this is my 12th
We're
business.
ready to pivot and grow with the community.
12?
For the long term.
Yeah, I ran and started startups and sold and merged startups. So I'm an entrepreneur myself for many years. This is my retirement plan. Yeah, all the best. Thank you.
Mr. Mondler.
Congratulations. It looks like it, potentially be a fabulous addition to Spencerville. You say projected opening in September. Is that the cafe, everything, or just the retail part?
Hopefully everything.
So you've started your applications with the health unit, the liquor license, or
Not the liquor license, we haven't started yet.
Yeah, we went through all the steps. So we have right now been in contact with the health unit. We're submitting our notice for a food premise. So we're doing that. We did our training for the certification as well. And for the liquor license, we're just waiting until we have at least all those done first. So we won't be probably licensed.
Yeah, it's very possible.
But that's gonna happen. Yeah.
And currently, it's your home with no retail. Okay, great, thanks. Congratulations. And
Thank you.
I'll be a little bit more optimistic. I know it will be successful.
Thank you.
It's a great village, and the village supports new businesses.
We're seeing that already.
And you'll be successful.
Connor.
No questions, but looking forward to it.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Good. Fantastic presentation. I'll just wrap up. I think I just really wanted to hit capacity. So capacity indoor 40, patio plus 20 more would be 60. Did you say you'd run tournaments as well, like game tournaments?
Yes.
So would that capacity exceed those, or wouldn't it? It stays within.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
The special events that we'll do is it's my ticket ahead of time. So we'll book basically some spaces and tables and so on for the tournaments and some special events. We're also going to be taking, so if we're getting busy, online booking, so you can pre-book your table ahead of time, so you don't show up and it's all busy and don't have a table. So we have that as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Well, as I said to you before, I look forward to your opening. I can't wait to see it in September. I can't wait to come in and have a coffee and learn a new game. And I'm sure most of the group here at the table will be there as well. So thanks for your presentation, and we'll see your item. If you want to stay, you'll hear us debate your item a little bit. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, so moving on, we are now at 5B with delegation, which is the zoning bylaw review. And we're looking at Mr. Philip Murray, who wants to discuss Center Street in Spencerville. So Philip, fire away.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. As some of you know, I live next door. I like where I live, and I have an interest in the future of the village and in my neighborhood. My proposal is to rezone Center Street, or a portion of Center Street, to residential R1 as part of the review and advancement of the draft of the bylaw. Slide. Thank you. You recognize this as part of Schedule C of the draft bylaw and the current bylaw, which is the same. If you were to step out of the front door of this building and look to the west, you would see the neighborhood that I'm talking about. Apart from some of the traffic, it looks like an everyday, ordinary, pleasant neighborhood, which it is. But presently, and in the draft bylaw still, it's zone Main Street commercial or Main Street commercial residential MCR. And you all know better than I do what that means, but let me remind you. Permitted uses include everything in the MC zone, everything in the institutional zone, and everything in residential zones up to R3 in accordance with the provisions of the current and the draft bylaw. It's not obvious to me, and some of you may remember why the whole street is zoned that way. Right now, part of the street is commercial and institutional. The site of the old bank building where people used to have fun putting a hay wagon on top of the bank area, the laundromat, post office, the former United Church Mass, which for a while was Go Home and Joe Computer, the former funeral home and insurance office, which sadly burned down, Purcell's Insurance, and this building, and the former Grenville Patron Insurance offices, which are now home. MCR. After that, though, if you look west along the street, you'll see almost nothing but residential single homes, except for St. Lawrence Church and Mulder's Welding. And of course, the county road has traffic. But the whole road is zoned MCR. So anytime soon, it could be replaced by all those things. I'm sorry for the eye chart, but there's a whole lot of stuff there. Any one of a number of things, commercial parking lot, dry cleaners, retail stores, service outlets, workshops, not a gas station because the provision is for an existing automobile service station. Other than that, what's allowed is gasoline alley, some of the uglier parts of suburbia and some towns around here that I think we'd like to avoid in Spencerville. Next slide, please. Why do we want more commercial space in Spencerville? The uses, everything I could think of that a small farming village needs is checked off in that box, except of course for the late lamented bank. And I don't think anyone else is going to put a bank branch in here. But to my mind, that list pretty well covers the ground. There's no special need for any more commerce, any shops, any stores, any repair shops, any of the other things that are listed there. I think the village has what it needs. I think the village is pretty well perfect. That's why I live here. And I don't think that there's a lot of point in imagining a big increase in the tax base if suddenly we were to fill up the stores. I think we're better off encouraging middle grade housing and the respectable property taxes that are attached to that. So what I propose is residential first density, R1. So that is single dwellings. And I want to make the point again, I'm not really asking for a change. What I'm looking for, what I'm proposing is that the street remain what it is. Right now, though, the zoning would allow for it to be much more. The zoning as it exists would permit a radical change. And I think a change for the worse in the neighborhood that runs from here to the end of the village. That sketch gives you an idea. It's not a very good idea because I'm not very good at this, but that green oval really is meant to show this street, Center Street, as it runs from about this building out to the edge of the village as residential R1. And I can't think of a good reason why it shouldn't be. That's, you get the idea. You can see what it looks like. So what are my reasons? There they are. In short, the current reality is a benefit to the village. and to the townships, and to the township, and to the current residents. This is a pleasant place to live. I didn't lock my door when I came here because I live in the country. I don't live in a commercial strip. Further development in accordance with MCR would spoil the charm of the neighborhood, spoil the village, make it the whole village a less pleasant place to live, be less likely to attract new residents, and make us, the village and the township, less well positioned to take advantage of the inevitable urban sprawl that is coming our way. And commercialization and densification would be to no one's advantage. And so my proposal is that it be removed from the options in the zoning. I've picked up a couple of good pieces of text. I have the next one, please. I don't know if, sorry for the fine print, but I found among the proposals that were made attached to the the draft zoning bylaw, a good quotation from Stephanie Summers. The village is a heritage village with a farming and agricultural background. Keeping the integrity of the village and the quality of life for residents is important. Condensing the village into a tight bedroom community will not support the local business and will destroy the appeal of the village, unquote. I agree. Now I found in the minutes of the meeting of this committee on the 1st of November, committee discussed possible complications with the current MCR zone lots located between Sloan and Center Street. Sloan Center, highlighting previous issues dealt with on David Street. Possible issues of future severance, repercussions of the addition of secondary dwelling units, and the appropriate approach to addressing the perceived issue. The concern for intensification through the development of multi-residential housing due to the smaller street sites, narrow lot, surrounding public amenities such as the arena and the fairgrounds. And to that, I think I would add stress on, I don't know enough about our sewage system, but it would certainly increase the demand on the sewage. And I have a feeling that the aquifers that feed all our residential wells around here are not infinitely large. And my impression is that they've been becoming drier in previous years. If we were to stuff a whole lot more houses and a whole lot more water pumps into these streets, I don't think it would be a good thing. So to summarize, I'm requesting the current draft zoning bylaw be amended to reflect the present reality. The zone Center Street from number 15 to the village boundary as residential R1. That's it. Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Berry, for your presentation. And you made it under the wire, no problem. Okay, I'm just going to go around the circle and bring it up for questions. And Connor, I'll start with you this time.
You always started on the left.
Well, I always go back and forth.
I just had one thing that came to mind. Last sentence on page 10 of 13, I guess. You stopped at the word fairgrounds, but the last sentence I think comes to mind as important. Members noted the possibility of unnecessarily upsetting landowners by changing the current zoning of their properties. And I think to me that's paramount. Because I don't think we can restrict the main road of the town to one thing only especially when there's difficulty for a lot of people to find housing, whether it's single detached homes or duplexes or apartments. But your proposed change would also limit the ability for someone to start a new business, such as the previous delegation in that area if the change is made. But I do agree with the sentiment of what you're bringing up.
I think there's a few gaps in the core of the town, and I don't think it's our committee that can place limitations, but I do like the context of looking, I do like the idea of looking at this and sort of trimming the limitations, but not reversing it to only residential housing, which we do need, but we also do need a strong internal economy in our township. I guess that would be.
Yeah, you're right. And I felt honestly obliged me to leave that sentence in the end of the quotation. I don't know about, I can speak for one landowner, of course, obviously. I couldn't tell you how many people living on that street want to retain the Carroll zoning and how many would really prefer that it remain a residential neighborhood as it is. I think there is room, physical room, whether or not it's in the plan right now. I think there is room for commercialization and more residential building. I don't think that has to be there. I could probably be accused of saying not in my backyard, and yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. But I think there are better places to put shops and better places to put multi-unit residences, and I don't think they need to go there. And I'd go back to my previous argument. It would spoil one of the nicer aspects of this village, make it a less attractive place to live.
Further comment? Good. Mr. Muller?
Mr. Bird, thank you. Thank you very much for taking the opportunity to come and make a very, very well thought and well put together presentation. It was, again, very straightforward, very, very clean, very clear. I like your transparency with your own quote, not in my backyard, you know, and I think that speaks volume. We want everything to get better, well, not in my backyard, you know, and I don't know if this is the way to go about it. I'm not saying you're right, I'm not saying you're wrong, but what I am saying is thank you. Thank you for taking your time. Thank you for coming in front of us, and thank you for voicing your opinion in a calm, collected, well put together presentation. I want to thank you.
That's very kind of, if I can answer you in part. None in my backyard, yeah, but I wasn't really talking about the house next door to me. I am talking about the village I live in. The things that could go into MCR are already in the village. I don't suppose we need any more. And so I believe I'm speaking for the whole village.
Thank you.
Further?
No.
Thank you.
Councilor Hunt?
Thank you, Bill, for bringing this item forward. I hope you made there about Sloan Street. I'm sure you're quite aware I'm the one that made that statement. And I do agree with you that MCR shouldn't be on the back half of those lots along Sloan Street. That was my concern there. You do realize that what you're asking for R1, the village limits, it is the home hardware store.
I think of the village limit as the extent. I stand to be corrected. I wouldn't go that far, or I certainly wouldn't insist on it. I'm thinking where the sewage pump is, or whatever that thing is at the end of the village. It used to be. I try to remember. We used to live in that little village, but I would not go as far as I am not talking about from here to Beverly Street or from here to Cleary Road. No, I'm talking about the built-up area that runs for a little over a quarter of a mile.
I can sympathize with you. You don't want to see change in your immediate neighborhood. You're happy with the way it is. I quite agree with the on Stone Street. I really shouldn't be having that, the back half of the gas if it can be shed there. As far as along Center Street, there is a fair amount of commercial that's already taking place.
Sorry,
There is already some commercial that's taking place along Center Street with Mulders and
Mulders and the church are the only ones that,
well, yeah,
within the limits that I was thinking of.
yeah, technically you have grants cleaning.
And home businesses, which are allowed, the kind of thing that R1 already allows.
I appreciate your presentation, and as I say, I do agree with part of it. Upset a lot of people. I think will change the value of their property.
I think I could probably today make more money selling my house as a house than knocking it down and putting a funeral parlor up there.
Knocking it down, putting an apartment up there.
Or an apartment building.
Might be a different story. Anyway, thank you for your presentation.
Good. Mr. Mayor?
Well, Mr. Drury, you sure have given us some food for thought here tonight.
Well, I'm glad, that's why I came.
So the constant thing that goes through my mind is how to make this work, because you do speak to a lot of common sense here. And I think the strongest thing that you've said so far is, why don't we just recognize in the zoning bylaw what already exists? But there is an answer to that. And the answer to that is that it is a well-established fact that commercial property is a higher and better use than residential property. I mean, that's sort of overall. I mean, we do get, I'm going to call it blips in the housing market, such as we've got right now, which does drive the housing pricing higher, perhaps in the times that we're in right now, outstripping the commercial values, especially when there's not much commercial development. But as I look at your map, and I'm looking at the map on page 36 of 84, where you give us the little green oval there, and you say, well, you know what, you're not talking about right to the village boundary, and that wasn't really part of what you meant.
Correct.
So yeah, so here we are at here's a reality of the situation. We've been at the zoning bylaw now for pretty close to 24 months, 18 for sure. And part of the process is that we're required to take the final version to at least one public open house before it comes before council. And we've actually held 2 open houses because there were a number of issues that came up at the first one that we wanted to deal with, take it back to the public. Now, for us to try to wrestle with a concept like this, when we're only really 3 weeks away from putting this draft bylaw before council, really creates an issue. Now, I don't say that it has to come before the May issue, the May meeting of council. But what I am saying is that it definitely has to, a concept like this would definitely have to go back to the public. So it's late in the game to try to wrestle with this issue. As you know, in spite of the fact you do make some good points, and I just don't know how we would deal with it. And you know, I can see, knowing the street, there's about 6 or 8 or 10 of those housing lots along there that you've got a strong argument to making them residential. You really do. So I'm just at a loss as to know how we could proceed here, and I would need guidance from the staff and the planner to tell me how to wrestle with this issue. So I thank you for your presentation, but the mechanism is not clear to me as to how we would deal with it this late in the process.
Completely my fault. Absolutely.
No, I don't look at it that way.
I wish I'd come to you 2 years ago.
Well, you know, what we find in these small towns, and I've been in others, it takes a while for people to engage, and that's fully understandable. And I know that you've been at all of our open houses and all of the meetings that we've had here, as well as a number of CDC meetings, and it just takes time for people to engage. That's it, Mr. Chair. I'm sort of looking for direction here.
Councillor Cameron.
I really don't have any questions, Mr. Burry, but thank you for your presentation. Like the mayor, I'm a little bit concerned about your timing on this, but anyway, you've made your presentation. I'll certainly do my due diligence and research.
Thanks.
I have no question, Mr. Burry. Just I want to echo Mr. Motley said. Thank you for coming here and thank you for your presentation. Well done. And at this time, we kind of think it is kind of a little late for coming back. To be quite honest,
on the mercy of the municipal government. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
that's a good one. Thank you.
Mr. Ward.
No, again, thank you for sure for bringing it to our attention to opening a bit of eyes and having some dialogue about this. I mean, it kind of makes me feel a bit like how do you help to keep sort of that Vieville or the old time, the old center core of a smaller city, so that then you can develop a little further on the outsides. And it is why we didn't have the opportunity to have more dialogue about this and see where we would take this possibility. But I mean, and I get what you're trying to do, and if we could have some conversation, that'd be great. But at this point, I guess you can at least hope for not a lot of development in the next 5-10 years. What is it? Anyways, before the next opportunity comes up, and we can have that discussion again, perhaps. And but thank you for your time. It does make you start of the wheels in your head sort of run around. What could be done, and so thank you.
Thank you.
Just make one final comment if I could.
Sure, absolutely.
And I'm going to tell you the absolute acid test as to how correct Mr. Drury is with his ask will be revealed in the following manner. If we look at the uses in the MCR zone as laid out on page 33 of his presentation, and you look at that list, and then you look at the map that he's provided us with on page 1 of 84, 31 of 84, and you think of what's happening in the first 3 lots west of this building where we're sitting, and look at the long list of permitted uses. And I'll tell you, you want to know how right he is. Somebody comes along and buys the next 3 lots to us and says, I'm wiping out those 3 residences and I'm going to put in X. You'll find out exactly how right he is, because the people in this little village will not be happy. Am I right?
Torches and pitchforks.
Beg your pardon?
Torches and pitchforks.
Tar and feathers. No, that's the proof of what you're saying, really. It's, and Mr. Drury,
Burry, sir.
Sorry, my fault. I guess, well, as I say,
Mr. Mayor, you know my first name. Go ahead.
It's the timing. Gosh, the timing. Anyway, sorry, Mr. Chair.
Good.
Okay, sorry that I take your point about timing, and I regret throwing this monkey out of your back at this point, but there you are. We came here because this is a really charming village, and I really want to keep it that way. Thank you for it. I have to put in a plug for the community development coordinator who has helped me navigate the process, and I would not have been able to get my act together insofar as I have without her help.
Thank you, Mr.
Appreciate the compliment.
Thank you, Mr. Burry, for your presentation. I think I want to echo Mr. Modler and say It takes a lot of courage to come up and present, especially when you want to stand up for your town and what you believe in. So thank you for your presentation. Much appreciated. All right, so moving on to where Wendy, our coordinator, usually helps me out a lot.
Can't understand it.
Okay, so 6A. Wendy, can you speak a little bit to it? Can you do a little? If you can't, then maybe the CAO can.
Problem for the chair. This item is talked to the official plan amendment. Official plan amendment number 1 for additional residential units. I know this committee is familiar with the proposed amendment already, and we spoke about it also in the public meeting we had on April 21st. So here in your package, you've got a report from Novatech, and it also includes a draft copy of the amendment. So those are the changes that I proposed from the official plan, and it consists of sections as well. And then any of the public and agency comments we've received so far, I even mentioned the official plan amendment are included in this package. Although if you read through Novatech's report, they do point out that some of these comments are more relevant to the draft zoning bylaw. We just wanted to be completely transparent where it was official plan amendment was mentioned, those comments are included in your package. So we're looking for, I think it's time for the committee to make a recommendation to council to adopt the official plan amendment. The next steps after this would be that it goes to the counties. They are the approval authority on our official plan amendments. Hope you guys can hear that okay.
Yeah, no, that was great, Wendy. Okay, so let's.
So Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So most people may not appreciate the sequence in which this is happening. So the county just adopted the official plan amendment to the county official plan within the last month or so. And so now the county has put their official plan amendment in place. It's the right timing to bring this one forward. And because I've been through the mill at the county and at the county planning advisory committee, I'm familiar with the issue here. So it'd be my pleasure to move the recommendation when the time comes. But suffice it to say that a lot of us are putting a lot of stock in the result that will accrue over a period of time from this official plan amendment and the commensurate zoning bylaw that will amendment, or the zoning bylaw prescriptions that will come forward as a result of it. Because I mean, when you're talking about an additional residential unit, just to get the proper words here, one additional residential unit within a detached house, a semi-detached house, or a row house, and one additional residential unit in an ancillary building, that has the possibility to create an awful lot of affordable housing. And that's, I think, what we're all trying to achieve with this. So much said, Mr. Chair.
Good. Councilor Cameron?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And my questions are to staff, and as I said with Mr. Burry's presentation, I've just received in the last few hours a couple of concerns from citizens, especially in the Cardinal area, and it's regarding 4143 Adelaide Street, or 41/43 Adelaide Street, because Adelaide Street doesn't have 4-digit numbers, so it's 2 lots, and if we go ahead and change our zoning bylaw as it sits, this particular property is going to become residential instead of, or residential 2 instead of CC, community commercial. And again, I have to say that I just do have some concerns. So I'm just, I guess, giving staff notice that I'm going to be doing a little more digging into this before I can give a definitive answer as to whether or not I can support the changes when the time comes. But anyway, for now, I hope staff contacts Movatech regarding this issue anyway, and we'll see before the end of the month just where we're sitting. Thank you.
Yeah, Councilor Neal.
I think it's great what I know what the provincial government's doing, you know, starting off any single home, you know, duplex, whatever, to get the, you know, tiny homes in your backyard is, like the mayor said, it's affordable housing. I think everyone around this little circle would agree is we need to step up to the plate, and the provincial government needs to help us. This is one indication when they let us go ahead and have additional homes where maybe I can live in the tiny home and someone else can live in my big home when I get to the age, you know, with a family. So I think it's great, and the mayor's going to move and I'll second it. No problem. So no problems whatsoever on this.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we want to get more houses for sure, and it's, you know, we know that, you know, the fact is they want us to have, you know, they create the opportunity to have one within building and one as an outbuilding as well. And I believe in our last conversations that we've covered all the concerns regarding parking and setbacks and the max building size of the structure. I believe we covered all that, so I think we're covered there, because I'd be worried about the, you know, the implications of that stuff if big parking on the street becomes a problem or whatever for the areas. You know, I mean, I'd much prefer that we found a way. This is not we as a township, but, you know, higher up than that, found a way for ownership to become the option that we get people instead of having to rent. But in the interim, you know, I don't see any objection with it because we covered the other things as well. So same thing.
That's fine.
I don't see that we have a whole lot of choice here. It's kind of been mandated by the province down. It's one of these issues where the township's responsible for 100% of what takes place in their township and get to really control 10% of what takes place in their township. So I know we need more affordable housing. I'm not opposed to it in certain areas. Fortunately, I think we're going to have future councils where this is going to be an issue that's going to come up quite often to cause trouble between neighbors. I firmly agree being able to add a second residence within a unit or attached to a unit. Father or mother that's getting near retirement age that wants to have a granny suite or something added on, and maybe they don't want to be right on with the kids are running, the grandkids are running in, but they want a little place at the back. As we have had a couple of them built in the township and we use the same septic and water system, I'm all for that. But I think in Village of Cardinal and Johnstown and Spencerville, there could be problems with some of the lots and stuff, but unfortunately, I don't have to pass. So.
Mr. Mulder?
I think we did our due diligence, like we, you know, as Mr. Ward has said, you know, a lot of our concerns have been addressed, and so I see no reason why we shouldn't support it. Affordable housing is needed. You know, just define what affordable is. You know, when you say over 300,000 of an affordable house. I beg to differ, that's affordable, but that's another debate on its own. But this alone, I have no problem with.
Clear?
There is text in section 6.2.1.1 that bothers me enough to bring it up, I guess. Additional residential units are an efficient and cost-effective means of increasing the supply of housing, affordable housing, and special needs housing. I agree, but my problem with it is that it's presented as a fact, and I could provide a number of things that would be contrary to the efficiency of increasing the housing supply in this way. And there's just going to be a lot of issues in the future that I don't think we can avoid at this level, such as the amount of parking spots for the amount of residents. Are the new units going to have the required 911 signs so that public services are aware that people are living there? And can public services find people in a timely fashion during an emergency? Are these units going to be obtaining building permits? Are they going to be up to code and safe? I guess we don't really have very many choices because we have to follow the county, but saying they are an efficient and cost-effective means of increasing that housing supply seems like it's an opinion. And government text, I don't know if it should be presented like that. But overall, the amendment is encouraging for people who are looking for affordable housing. That's all I can say.
Do I weigh in or not? Yeah, I think good discussion. I think I echo a lot of what Councillor Hunter said, and a fair bit of what Mr. Cleary said, and I think others at the table as well. There's definitely a recognized problem of affordable housing. This is the provinces or one attempt at a solution to create more affordable housing. I mean, in my opinion, I just think as we continue to clear up issues where there's been more than one residence on a single property, we've seen it over the last 4 years several times, and it seems to be a mess. And I personally believe that this creates a mess for future councils that they're going to have to deal with, but as the knee jerk, as the short term, it may provide some much needed relief for affordable housing. So it is what it will be. I do believe I had a mover in the mayor to move the recommendation, and I do believe that I had a seconder with Councillor Dillabaugh as well. So if there's no further comments or discussion, I will call the question. Discussion. Yes.
Excuse me. I just would like to, excuse me, just to reiterate, I am going to support the recommendation as it is written here. However, prior to it coming to council, I would like staff to speak to Novatech regarding these issues, regarding the Adelaide Street address, which has, by the way, nothing to do with affordable housing or anything else. It's just a zoning situation. So I will be supporting the recommendation tonight.
Okay. So any further comments or questions? Then let's call the question. All in favor?
Now, Mr. Chair, before you go on,
yes,
if I may,
you may.
I didn't want to say this prior to the calling of the of a vote on the motion. But just to make people aware as a point of information, the county is about, I say, 4 to 6 weeks ahead of where we are. And one of the things that the county did immediately following the passage of the county official plan amendment was to develop a series, actually 2 series of quite substantial grants that are available for the construction of additional residential units. And those grants will make, if I recall correctly, $25,000 available for the construction for an individual to make the construction of a residential unit within their home or as a separate dwelling in the backyard, if I could put it that way. And the other set of grants is for a company or an entity that's in the rental business of renting units to make grants available to them. Now, the county has fleshed out the application forms and all the terms and conditions of those grants. And I was pleased the other day to deliver a copy of the grants and the application forms, all the terms and conditions to one of our local developers, because I thought it might be an incentive to get on with the development of one of our plans, one of our subdivisions that's fairly well advanced in the planning process. So I just wanted to make that available and known as a point of information. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, so we've called, I did what I was supposed to do, right? I called my question. There's no direction, just a recommendation. So we're good to go on to 2, which is strictly an information item. It's to make committee aware of Bill 109 and provided tonight basically so that committee can review Bill 109 at their leisure over the next month or so. Our plan is to have it back when staff knows a little bit more about the implications of Bill 109 and how they will affect the township and the way that we do site plans and things like that. So we've attached it. It's so that everyone can go through, try to get yourself a little bit acquainted with it, and we'll have a fulsome discussion about it on the June agenda. Is that?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm having trouble with my package here.
And so am I, Mr. Chairman.
What are the page references number? Because as we finished the previous item on official plan amendment number 1, I saw in my package that went to page 47 of 84. And then the next thing I have in my package, which is page 48 of 84, is Mr. Burry's letter and his recommendation. And then you're talking now about information item on Bill 109, and the next thing I have in my package is not Bill 109, it's something from Ron and Joyce Perrin. And then immediately after that, I have this pages on Enbridge, and I don't see how any of these relate to Bill 109.
I think Mr. Mayor. I think the coordinator is going to speak to that, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, through the chair. So the item on the official plan amendment includes all of the public and agency comments we've received to date that reference the official plan amendment. All of these are more relevant to the zoning bylaw review that we're completing, but where they've mentioned the official plan amendment. So we have Mr. Perrin's comments, we have Mr. Burry's written comments, and we have comments from Enbridge as well. And those are all related to the official plan amendment, more so the zoning bylaw review that we're completing. So the proposed more for everyone act under 109 on page 78 of your package.
I get the connection. Thanks very much. Good. As I was reading the package, Okay, I got the picture now.
Right, and okay, so no discussion tonight for 6A2, but it will be a full discussion for the beginning of June meeting when staff knows more and how it will actually apply to how we do things. Right now, we just don't have those answers. So, okay. So moving on to item. Okay, we've all been waiting for this one. 6B, which is the application for. I want to see everyone raise their hand to be the mover. To the 6B work under work economic development, which is the application for community improvement plan funding for 6 Spencer Street. And I think it's here. So as we heard earlier, we have the applicant and property owner, Marquis Cote, applying for the project under the property and facade improvement, the CIP, and the permit-free fees rebate program under the Spencerville Community Improvement Plan. The property is zoned Main Street commercial residential. It's been used as residential, although the new owners are planning a commercial use on the main floor of the building with a new shop and cafe named the Odd Spot. As we've heard earlier, the application indicates that the building's stone walls rear may have issues that could impact the building's long-term stability, and the roof strip edge is in need of repair. The project includes a change of use permit to acknowledge the new commercial use for a portion of the building, masonry work to restore the exterior walls of the building to ensure stability and enhance the visual appeal. Repairs to the roof strip edge. The project is planned to commence in early May and would take approximately 1 month to complete. The application for a change of use permit has already been submitted to the township. The application has pre-consulted with the community development coordinator and submitted an application for funding under the CIP program. Staff have completed review and evaluation. Policy implications. The application meets all the criteria. For building permit fees, the application permit fees program provides a rebate of up to 50% of the application fees paid by the applicant to a maximum of $5,000. Eligible projects include development and redevelopment of mixed-use buildings that are generally consistent with the maintain the intent of Spencerville's community improvement design principles. The proposed masonry work is listed as an eligible project under the Property and Facade Improvement Program, and the project is consistent with the design principles of the Spencerville Community Improvement Plan. The Facade Improvement Program can provide a rebate of up to 50% of the cost of the approved works to a maximum of $5,000. Section 6.6 of the plan provides that the incentive programs made available under the Spencerville Community Improvement Plan may be used individually or may be combined. The total incentives under the plan is not to exceed $10,000. The applicant has submitted 2 quotes for the proposed works that total $38,385 and to $50,000. Additionally, the township's building permit fees for the change of use permit and associated work is $450. The project is eligible for $5,000 under the Property Facade Improvement Program and $225 under the Application Permit Fees Program. It's anticipated that the township's cost will be $5,225. There is a recommendation here that says the committee approved the application S-01-22, the Odd Spot, reimbursing 50% of the actual costs to complete the proposed masonry work and roof drip edge repairs to a maximum of $5,000 in association to a rebate, in addition, to a rebate of $225 being 50% of the cost of the change of use permit and associated works, which will allow a commercial use on the main floor of the existing building. How did I do, Andy?
Thanks.
All right, are there any questions? Does any, Councillor Cameron, you indicated earlier that you may have a couple of questions for Marquis and Amy. So do you?
Yes, I did, Mr. Chairman, thank you. the questions have been answered. I appreciate that very much. So I will support the recommendation.
Okay. Are there any further questions while we're, Chris, you look?
Well, I mean, I was actually just, on our nicely new design website, thanks, Wendy. Because I was sure there was something else out there because, there's a lot of work going on there and it's going to be a huge improvement to the area. And I guess I was actually thinking of the heritage property improvement one, but it's not a designated property. So I was trying to see if there's anything else out there to help the applicants. But so not less, but more, but I don't see anything, but I'm not the expert Wendy would be. But anyway, so no, I'm definitely in favor of it for sure.
Good.
I have a question.
Sure.
Sorry.
Just want to note that there was a mover. That's all. Go ahead, Mr. Miller.
I guess it's a question about the program. Is the program available for residential or is it for commercial improvement?
Mixed use buildings are eligible.
But does it have to be, so both are, so if somebody is in a residential place in a commercial residential zoning, and they want to do improvements on their residential house, can they apply under this program?
If it's a mixed use building, I think the CIP program defines it as commercial on the main floor. And it's eligible, the residential units, so it's actually a separate program under the CIP for that, called the Housing Improvement Program. Might not be the exact words.
No,
that could be used for those.
Where I'm getting at is, like on that same block, there are some houses. They're still within that zoning area. Because this building right now, although I support it, it's a house. It's not commercial yet. So are they eligible if it's not, although it's zoned commercial, it's not being used commercially, it's being used residentially. Is it eligible under the program?
A mixed use building. I think in this case it says as defined by the zoning bylaw. I would say they've already obtained their change of use permit for the main floor to be commercial.
So that permit has been approved?
Yes.
Okay, it just said it was.
At the time I wrote it, they had applied for it.
Okay,
At this
so,
point, it's
okay,
been
that's
approved.
fine.
Yeah, that's a good, it's a very good question because I think the concern is that it doesn't apply or what prevents somebody from a residential.
The person right beside them has a
facade
house.
approved.
Yeah, the person right beside them is their house.
Yes.
Are they eligible? That's my question.
Yeah.
Would they be eligible?
No.
They would not unless they were looking to do something commercial on that first thing.
And also note that we don't, it's a rebate program, we don't pay it up. So if they were to say that they were making the commercial improvements or improvements to the commercial, and that's not what they did, we don't have to pay it back. It's in the contract.
Okay.
It has to be consistent with their application.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. And I think if I'm not, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the other one applies to the to upstairs apartments.
Yes.
of residential.
I saw that one.
Yes.
I saw that one. I just wasn't clear. I always thought it was specific, it said commercial, but I read through it tonight and it didn't say, so just point of clarity for me. Thank you very much.
Good. Anyone else? No comment? Councilor Hunter? Seconded by Councilor Hunter. Mr. Mayor, did you have anything?
No, was there a mover?
There is a mover, yeah. Councilor Dillabaugh and seconded by Councilor John Munter. Are there any further comments? I can't wait to approve this. No further comments. All right, all in favor? All right. Congratulations. All right, so there is recreation in MSC. I don't have anything in my package for recreation, so there is nothing for recreation. So we move on to number 7, which is inquiries and notices of motion. Does anyone have inquiries or notices of motion? So I'll start with Councilor Dillabaugh and work my way.
Thank you, the Chair. I'd just like to recognize we have a staff member today that got an email from our CEO, Richard McGuire, works for Public Works. and his granddaughter, Shelby Bender Western, I hope I'm saying that right, is a gymnastic lady, not bad at her what she does. She came in third anyways among Canadian girls, receiving a medal down in Florida. But the good thing is she's only 10 years old and she's competing against 14 and 16-year-old girls. So I just think that's great to see such a young girl that has so much talent that probably I'm going to get a shirt so she can sign it for me. It's going to be worth something when she gets a limit.
Would be nice. It would be nice if
I'd love to give her
if there was a congratulations on our social media
to the
township, wouldn't it?
I think that'd be a great idea. Could we do something like that, Mr. CEO?
We can.
I'm sure the committee would support something like that. I'm sure.
And I'll share with my Facebook people, I'll tell you, because I think it's just great.
Yeah, I think that's a feat that should be recognized.
For that young to be that good. Okay. Competition, so thank you, that's all I have.
Thanks, Councillor. Mr. Mayor?
Well, I'll go last if you like, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely. Mr. Mottler.
With your indulgence, I have one inquiry and 3 announcements.
Okay.
My inquiry. We have an update on Turpin Farms in Johnstown.
Terpene, T-E-R-P-E-N-E.
Turpin, it's Turpin. Yeah. So no update?
No update as of now.
There is no update as of now.
When we have info, get it.
Great, thank you. And 3 notices. On May the 21st, the South Edwardsburg Recreation Association is hosting a cleanup in Johnstown, starting at 9 a.m. And people are encouraged to meet at the corner of Highway 2 and 16, where there's a park there right now. So we're going to start from there and do a bit of a Johnstown cleanup on that. So it's May the 21st at 9 a.m. On June the 11th, the South Edwardsburg Recreation Association is hosting a community yard sale on June the 11th for people in Johnstown and surrounding areas. If people want to participate, we're offering a map. It'll cost the people that want to join $10. You get your address put on the map to indicate that you have a yard sale. South Edwardsburg Rec will be providing maps at the Johnstown United Church and at selected sites along within Johnstown. So if people want to pick up a map to see where all the yard sales are, they'll be available. And thanks to the township, both of those events are being publicized via the township website and on our South Edwardsburg Recreation Association's social media. And our association, we're in the midst of putting together our spring newsletter, for which we will advertise or make mention of the various summer programs being available throughout the township. And if the mayor or deputy mayor would like to add a little article to the newsletter, we would gladly receive it. Or if the CEO would like to add a little blurb to the newsletter, we would gladly receive it. And again, on behalf of the association, we thank the township staff. They will print those 500 newsletters for us. We supply the paper. The township prints them on our behalf.
Great.
So thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Moffat. All right, Mr. Mayor.
Before Mr. Morosco, sorry, I missed one.
Wait 1 second.
I'm sorry. I just want to give a shout out to the Cardinal Community Church. They cleaned up the waterfront down in Cardinal, I do believe, last week. So I just want to give them thanks for participating in that cleanup. Thank you.
Yes, the Mayor.
Okay, so just some points of information. Most of the members of council will be aware of some of this because at the port meeting during the budget discussions, the port general manager reported that for the first year, we would have a cruise ship docking at the Port of Johnstown. And that same cruise ship is going to dock 4 times at the Port of Johnstown because the cruise has sold tours to Upper Canada Village. So for those of you that aren't familiar, this cruise ship this is one of 5 to 7 cruise ships that are going to be cruising the Great Lakes this coming summer. And for those of you that aren't aware, you buy the basic cruise package, but then on the cruise itself, they sell what they call day shore excursions. So this cruise ship will dock at the Port of Johnstown around 6 in the morning. They will sell packages to Upper Canada Village. So people get off the ship and onto the bus, go to Upper Canada Village. And then towards the end of the day, come back to the ship for their dinner meal, and the ship will leave at 6 o'clock. The reason I'm saying that is because we've been trying hard to get the first cruise ship here so that we could extol the virtues of the Port of Johnstown, because even though there's only one excursion being sold on the ship, over the past 5 years, I've worked with Howard Bus Service in Brockville, and I've developed 5 other day excursion packages that could be sold on a ship. The issue is, how do we use these 4 visits to really extol the virtues of the Port of Johnstown and all of the many excursions in addition to Upper Canada Village that could be sold from this port? So one of the things that I've done is I've asked today Mr. Grant, who's a member on the group that looks after the River Route bus, if for those 4 days, the River Route bus would consider detouring off County Road 2 into the side of the ship and then back onto its route again. And Mr. Grant seems to feel that the group is amenable to that. And so 4 routes during the day, we hope, the River Route bus will come in and pick up and then leave and then come back. It'll run the circuit. Because when they sell the cruise packages to Upper Canada Village, only about 20 to 30 to 40% of the passengers will buy the day excursion to Upper Canada Village. The rest of the people stay on the ship and they're looking for something to do. They'll get off the ship. Where will they go? I've gone to the bridge view and I've explained to the bridge view that the ship is going to be parked on the wharf that's closest to the bridge view, and people would walk from the ship to the bridge view just for some local color. Unfortunately, the very first visit, which is Monday, May the 9th, the Bridgeview restaurant is closed on a Monday. So I've asked them, would you please reconsider that? I know you're closed on a Monday, but you're sitting right here, and we're trying to find ways of impressing the cruise director with what we actually have to offer here at the Port of Johnstown. So I'm still working on that. So the other thing that I wanted the committee to be aware of is that I hope to have created a small little single page flyer, which we can provide to the cruise director, which will say Port of Johnstown points of interest. And we'll point out that, you know, there's the Canada's oldest railway tunnel in Brockville. Jump on the River Route bus, go to Brockville, see the Canada's oldest railway tunnel, jump on the River Route bus and come back. It's going to cost you $10. So that's one possibility. There's a number of others. So I'm just bringing this out, Mr. Chair, as point of information to let you know that we are working hard to advance the offerings that could be available from the Port of Johnstown, and watch for the ship on May the 9th. The other dates were circulated to all members of council, and maybe Wendy could get it on the agenda for the next meeting that's here, the other 3 dates. And it turns out that the Monday date, Bridgeview is not open, and there's a Saturday date where the River Route bus doesn't operate. And of course, those dates are all controlled by the ship. We can get 1 ship in for 4 visits. Next year, let's see if we can get 2. That's the objective.
Yeah. Further?
That's it.
That's it. Good. Thank you. Anyone else with inquiries or notices? Hearing none, moving on to question period. We actually have some folks today. Are there any questions on anything on tonight's agenda or anything that was discussed for the committee? Mr. Rick?
If I may, with respect to my presentation a few minutes ago, I was mistaken about what village boundary means. And I'll send a note to the community development coordinator asking for a secretarial amendment to make clear that I don't mean all the way up to home.
I think that's clear.
Good, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Well, just I guess a response to that, the map was clear, I think, but also the schedule, I think Schedule C for Spencerville does have that boundary.
Yeah, I was thinking where the house numbering changes from 2-digit numbers to 4-digit highway numbers is what I have in mind. Good, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Amy, no, good. All right, so no questions. We do not have a closed session. I need a mover. For adjournment, Mr. Ward, seconded by Greg Mondler. All in favor? Everyone, of course, we are adjourned.
Thank you.